One more day. That's it. And then this election cycle is over. And the next one begins. Did you vote? Are you going to vote? Do you care? Governor Terry Branstad in the House today, live in Max World.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live.
Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy and Max World Live are the views of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of Webcast 1 Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, the electric guy, the guy who cuts the grass, the woman who brings us cookies, the wait staff at Winston's, the management staff at Hubble Realty, the guy who fixes our van, the coffee crew at Friedrich's, the man on the skywalk who will work for food, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, confused, or just made to think independently, call 515-244-4655 or log on to webcast1live.com and be a part of maxworldlive.com. You can reach Mac right now by calling 515-244-4655. 515-244-4655. You are listening to Max World Live with your host, J. Michael McCoy.
Running. Come on, y'all. Let's get it.
All right, good morning. It's November 2nd in the year 2010. I still think that's something I should be watching on the Jetsons or Star Trek. Can you believe that? It is. It's election day, November 2nd of 2010. And Iowa is very excited. Very excited about getting done with this election. Isn't it a shame that the majority of us only want it over with? What does that say about our process? Is it like childbirth? I mean, I doubt if any woman, I'm a man, I'm very fortunate that I don't have to make that choice of whether I give birth to a child. I've always said that given what I know and what I've seen, because I've been in a couple childbirths, I totally honor the woman. I just don't know if I could do that. I mean, I suppose I would if I had to. I can do almost anything. But that'd be tough. So I don't think any woman in the midst of being dilated so many centimeters and about to give birth would say, hey, this is fun. Can we make this last longer? But she knows that without the childbirth, there will be no child, and the rest of her life is worth it because she has that child in her arms. So, is election day and the election process kind of like being pregnant? There are uncomfortable moments. There are morning sicknesses. There are evening sicknesses. There are changes in a woman's body, which causes changes biologically as well as emotionally. But after that child's birth, it's worth a lifetime of going through that experience. Went to Casey's this morning, as I always do, get my morning decaf. Yes, for those of you who want to know, I'm almost completely off caffeine. Max threatened to quit if I didn't stop drinking caffeine. So I went to Casey's, and, you know, Casey's sometimes kind of becomes, at least my Casey's over in the Woodlands, kind of becomes this area where a bunch of people get together and talk a little bit. We don't really sit down. We don't really loiter. Mr. Lamberti probably wouldn't enjoy loitering. But we talked for a little bit. And I didn't meet anyone at Casey's this morning that wanted the election process to go on longer. I sit down and I talk to campaign staffers. I talk to candidates. I'm blessed. I don't know what the word you want to use is. I'm blessed. I'm the guy behind the scenes. I don't want to run. I will never run. You can mark my words on that. I will not run for public office. If I ever doubted that in my mind, then just look at this last election cycle, and it's pretty for sure that what my opponent would do to me in the media would be lies, would be incorrect, would be exaggerations, and misrepresentations. I don't know if I'd do that to him or her, so I'd probably lose. Would I serve you well? I think so. I have a heart for serving. I have a desire to serve, but I don't have a desire to go through the election process. That's probably why I'd be a chicken as a girl, because I wouldn't want to have the baby. I just would want to hold the baby and raise it my own. So I do the next best thing. I talk about it. I have conversation. I introduce you to the people that are involved in the process, and I, most importantly, vote. I voted a couple of weeks ago, although it didn't seem official until now, and it probably won't seem completely official until about 9 o'clock tonight when I turn on Channel 13 and start watching the election results. But I'm so glad it's over. It's getting nasty. Can you imagine what Mork from Ork thinks of America as he looks from his spaceship or his planet above? Remember that TV show? You're all old enough, most of you. And you remember that Robin Williams could look down upon the earth and see what people were doing, and at the end it was kind of like the moral of the story. What would he think of our election process? What would he think of the character assassinations that we feel is acceptable? It's a process we feel that every person needs to go through if they want to be held to higher office, if they want to be in charge of spending our money. They have to live through character assassination after character assassinations. I live my life that way anyway. When you do what I do for a living, people are always attacking you. But because there's no ta-da, there's no election day, you just kind of get a thick skin over it because you know it will never be over. When you're in the media, and I think that's what I am, I'm not sure. I'm just a guy who comes in every day and shares my thoughts and feelings with you and introduces you to some really cool people and asks you to have your voice involved in the process. As a guy who does that, I just know that today I'll say something that someone will find offensive, and because of this incredible world we call the internet, everybody can voice their opinion to everybody they want. It used to be maybe a phone call. You could screen those. It used to be a letter that you might read or might not read. I think I've told you this before. I don't even open letters that don't have return addresses. I may hand it to somebody and say, open it up, see if there's a return address or contact information at the bottom. And if there's not, highly unlikely that I'll read it. I might let somebody else read it and see if there's something in there I need to know. But anyone who's willing to say something anonymously, I'm not sure I hold any value to it. I put my name on things. I stand before you. You know where I live. You know what I do. You know how to get a hold of me. I'm right here, right with you, every inch of the way. I'm eating at Palmer's. I'm driving down the interstate. I'm going to church. I'm going to civic organizations. I'm involved just like you are. And if you're going to have an opinion, then you ought to step forward and say it out loud. To me, that's the First Amendment. People have died. Hundreds of thousands of people have died in the course of the last almost 200 and what is it now, 300 years that America has been in existence. Hundreds of thousands of people have died, so we have the right to say what we want to say. That really is the ultimate freedom. Almost everything else has been rearranged and watered down and changed. The right to carry a gun, the right to freedom of religion, all those things have been watered down. For the most part, we still can say what we need to say without any fear of being harmed or imprisoned or shot or killed or although I'm afraid that may be slowly being whittled away from us as we live in this unbelievable world we call democracy and republic. So today's the day. By 10:30, 11 o'clock tonight, our time, we should know most of the results. Maybe there will be a few hanger-oners. Maybe there will be a few close elections that aren't determined until tomorrow. Some of the judges and their retention probably won't be done for a couple of days, probably not the 3 that are in question. By the way, if you haven't voted yet, it's a long ballot. It is 2 pages, and it is 14 inches long. I'm sorry, it's 17 inches long. It used to be 14 inches long. Now it's 17 inches long back and front. Make sure you turn it over. Are you going to vote? I hope so. I woke up this morning at 4-something, placed on my Facebook, if you don't vote, you can't complain. And if you disagree with that, then you and I ought to go round and round. Because I want to know how you justify complaining about what your government does when you choose not to have the one responsibility you have, and that is to vote. You can vote ignorantly if you want. That's up to you. I don't take that away from you. I don't ask that you be informed like I am or informed like your neighbor. Would I prefer that you know every race, most of the races? Would I prefer that you had met most of the candidates, that you had an opinion on the issues that we're voting on? Sure. But I can't demand that of you, and I would never ask that of you. I've heard people from time to time talk about how we need to have qualified voters. We need to qualify people. They need to take a test to make sure they understand all the issues. Nope. The minute we get into that, then it will be maligned and it will be manipulated. You know, it's something interesting. I don't know if you know this, but depending on the county that you live in, whoever the auditor is, whoever the election commissioner is, if they're a Republican, then in that county, the Republican candidate is always listed first. If they're a Democrat, then the Democratic candidate is always listed first. So if you vote in Polk County for governor, it'll be Chet Culver listed first. Intimidation? Nah. Manipulation? Well, for a 4-year-old, choose the one that's on top. And there will be some people that simply choose the one that's on top and somehow feel they're more qualified or a better candidate. I'm not going to pick on you for that. I want you to vote. I want you to step inside the booth and vote. What you bring to that voting booth as far as intelligence and knowledge and information, that's up to you. That's not a qualifier to vote. The qualifier to vote is to care and be passionate and show up and want your voice heard. I know a lot of people that the only time their voice is heard is on this day, Election Day. It's the only time that their voice is heard. They don't speak out. They don't complain. They don't read the paper. They don't get involved in local politics. Even when they become passionate about it, they just assume that they can't make a difference. But they know that every year, every 2 years, every 4 years, on Election Day, November 2nd, their voice can be heard. And I honor you probably the most because you do the most you can do. The operative phrase, that you can do. I don't blame you for not wanting to be involved in this. It's yucky. Somebody posted on Facebook they wanted to go home and take a shower after they voted. Isn't that a shame? Isn't that a shame? The thing that we hold the most dear in this country, which is democracy, the right to vote. Remember the purple thumb? After we freed Iraq from Saddam Hussein and they had elections, and the biggest thing in the world was a purple thumb. My, how we take for granted the things that others hold so dear. On the same planet, at the same time, in the same moment. How different things can be. But, as America, we go in and we do what we can so people have the right to have a purple thumb. Some of us are more involved than others. You're more involved because you're here. You're here on Election Day. You're more involved because you voted or you will vote here on Election Day. Some of you are more involved because you tell me what you think on the chat. Mekaleka says, happy birthday. No stickers, says Studio Crab. What do you want, a sticker? If you vote, I'll give you a sticker. Mekaleka says no gun rights or free speech rights have been taken away. Planet Iowa says, I want to vote for an honest man. It looks like he'll get at least one vote. Oh my, oh my, oh my. So, of all the different things that we have as Americans that we can hold dear, one of them is that we mostly can live in our homes and feel safe. Second of all, we can walk into a church or not walk into a church and not be held in contempt by most people. Sometimes that freedom of religion or freedom from religion, however you want to say it, if you say from, then you're maligned. There's that word again. I must be in love with that word again. If you believe that the Constitution gives you freedom from religion, then you ought to read the Constitution. I will debate with anyone at any time that our forefathers never intended, not 1% did they intend, that religion should not be visual or auditory or present in society. What they meant was you can't be forced to go to a certain church or a certain synagogue or a certain mosque. That your political views and your religious views should remain separate as much as they can. Is the Sioux City preacher right for challenging the government to come and get him if he talks politics? Heck no. What a silly thing that is. Is he right? Yeah. He is right. He has every right from the pulpit because it's not freedom from religion, it's freedom of religion. You can choose to have one or you cannot. You can choose to follow your faith daily. You can choose to take communion. You can choose to be in confession. You can choose to sing, stomp, act, play the guitar, preach, hold your hand up, sing a song, or just quietly sit at home on Sunday morning and watch Meet the Press. We have amazing freedoms in this country. Amazing. There are freedoms in this country that other people would die for, just as we have died, so we have those freedoms. So when you voted today, or when you do vote today, what's the most important thing that you're voting for, do you think? Are you voting for judges or voting against them? Are you voting for the leader of our state? Are you voting for county supervisor? Is that the most important? Are you voting? What's the most important? Because let's face it, who goes into the voting booth and knows about every single election that's going on, except maybe the county auditor or the election commissioner? I don't even know. I was even surprised when I looked at the ballot and said, I didn't know that was going on. I'll tell you one thing that a lot of people didn't know was going on was Prairie Meadows. Did you vote yes for Prairie Meadows? I didn't. I like Prairie Meadows. I go there 2-3 times a year. Wife's out of town, grab a couple $100, go play poker, usually walk away with a couple $100. Free entertainment, cheaper than a movie. The water's free. They got a great buffet, and I'm a buffet guy, not as much as I used to be because I have lost a little weight. Thank you. And the new convention center is amazing. And I'm glad they take some of the money that we give them and give back to us. Wow, thanks. I'll come give you $1, and you'll give less than 1% back to me. Gee, do I have stupid written on my forehead? Why don't I just give that 1% on my own? Well, because we have to have fun with it first. We have to lose it. We have to lose our money in order to benefit some charities and some things here in central Iowa. Churches, United Way, homeless shelters, education. We have to lose it before we're willing to share it. Maybe that's what makes the world go round. Maybe, just maybe. That's why we need Prairie Meadows. I've just seen too many lives destroyed by the addiction to gambling. Can they get it somewhere else? Sure. Does it do more harm than good? Probably not. Prairie Meadows probably helps more people to have fun and to enjoy themselves than it ever does hurting people. And Prairie Meadows does a great job of getting people in touch with 1-800-OFF-GAMBLING or No Gambling or whatever that website or the telephone number is. We see the commercials, but we also see the tragedies. We also see those people who lose hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars, let alone thousands and thousands, through entertainment. And somehow as a society, we feel that's our job to govern that. So why would I vote no for Prairie Meadows? Why wouldn't I just say okay? Fine, if that's where people want to lose their money, that's their freedom. I'm conflicted by that. I'll admit to you, that was probably the hardest check mark or circle to fill in that I had on that ballot. It wasn't the judges. It wasn't the governor. It wasn't Polk County Supervisor. It wasn't 3rd Congressional District. It wasn't even a state Senate race. Prairie Meadows was tough for me because I know what it costs us. Oh, I know what we get back. I know who's helped by taking our money and then distributing it. Redistribution. I understand that, and I'm thankful that our state requires that organization to give some of that money back. I'm glad they have restrictions on entertainment. I'm glad there's an age limit. A smoking issue? Yeah, well, that's a different story. But something deep inside me said, Prairie Meadows, yes or no, and I got to live with it. It's only every 8 years that we get to vote, and I voted no. Will I be sad if Prairie Meadows is voted down? You know what the truth is? Can I tell you the truth? Here, come here. Let me tell you the truth. Can I tell you the truth on this one? On the Prairie Meadows vote? I don't think my vote matters. I quite frankly don't think anybody's no vote matters. I don't have faith in the system when it comes to the greed of gambling. I believe that if Prairie Meadows got the no vote, and that was the majority, somehow, some way, somewhere, someone would find a way for Prairie Meadows to continue. So it's almost an objection vote. It's almost like sustaining when you know there's not enough votes to get what you want. I guess maybe it's a throwaway vote. But more than a throwaway vote for me, it was a protest vote. It was a protest that at some point the moral fabric of our society needs a cleaning out. Kind of like we did with smoking. Kind of like we do sometimes when we protect our children. Most of the time when we pass laws to protect our children, we're way overboard, and I think as a parent you know that. It's those pitiful, poor parents that can't control their own children that want you and I to have more control over those kids, and the parents that don't do exactly as you might think they should as a parent. But on the Prairie Meadows vote, it was one of those times where I'd stand up in a room and I knew I would be in the minority, but the guy would say, and all those against, raise your hand. And I'd raise my hand. And there would be grumbles in the room, and somebody a couple seats away would say, well, that's a wasted vote. But I'd do it anyway. Because at some point, there needs to be a thinning of the herd of the things that we know are destructive to our society. And if you think for one moment that even one gambling addict doesn't affect you, do some research. Check it out. Find out how many pennies of your taxes go to support that gambling addict. Now, I know there's alcohol addiction. There's prescription drug addiction. All addictions are bad. I mean, for God's sakes, the worst addiction in the world is an alcohol addiction, and we, the state, control the distribution of alcohol. And we don't control it to a minimum. We control it to a maximum. Don't tell me as a state we have morals and we care about people who have addictions. So there will be people in those societies, in this society, who will constantly say, hey, that's not my problem. I like to go to Prairie Meadows a couple times a year. I like the fact that it supports my church or the United Way or homeless shelters or kids programs. I like that. So I'll vote yes. What that person doesn't realize is how much money just came out of their pocket without ever stepping into the building to support it. Anyway, last poll I read, and I'm not a big poll guy, you know that, but last poll that I read was, I just saw something on the chat. Hold on. Mac, Iowa does not care about addictions. Yep. I know it. We act like we do, don't we? We act like we do. But yet we vote. And we very rarely oppose those things that feed those addictions. I've been in the business of selling alcohol for 20-some years. And if I could go back and do one thing over again in my life, wouldn't be marrying my son's mother so many years ago that ended in divorce. Wouldn't be some of the stupid things I've said on the radio, which has hurt people, although that'd probably be high on the list. I wouldn't sell alcohol for a living. Hurts too many people. Hindsight's 20/20. I didn't realize that at first. I realize it now. There's always that argument, well, somebody's going to do it, why not me? That's why. Why not me? How about why me? Why should I be involved in that? There are a lot of different things in this world that hurt people, and alcohol is one of the biggest. And alcohol lends to addictions, and addictions destroy families, destroy livelihoods, destroy our society. Sorry about that. Got off on a tangent. Mekaleka says, Iowa does care about addictions. Oh, sorry. Oops. Excuse me. No, they don't, Mekaleka. Seriously? How do they care about addictions? How? If we really cared about addictions, we wouldn't be in the alcohol business. If we really cared about addictions, we wouldn't have the largest number of casinos per capita in the country. If we really cared about addictions, we would fund addiction centers and halfway houses, and we would put God in our prison system because it's only God that can get rid of an addiction for you. Whoa, hold on. I'm sorry. God's back in the picture. Show me an addict. Show me an addict that has gotten over an addiction without God, and I'll show you 10 that have. Maybe 100 that have. It's 30 minutes past the hour. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Governor Terry Branstad in the House. It's Election Day 2010, and if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job, and I couldn't do it without you right here at maxworldlive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast 1 Live.
Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Hi, Michael Libby with Insight on Business. We're part of Webcast One Live. Thanks so very much for coming by. So what is Insight on Business? Well, what we do is we have a daily news show Monday through Thursday from 12 o'clock noon Central Time until 1:15, where we talk about advertising, marketing, consumer trends, and best business practices. So why do we do that? Give you all this information, all this insight for free? Well, we want your business not simply to survive, but we want it to thrive in this economy or in any. And that's what we do. We give you nuggets, pieces of information, and facts and tips that you can use in your business each and every day to help build sales and build a following. It's called Insight on Business, all part of Webcast One Live. We'll see you each and every Monday through Thursday from 12 o'clock until 1:15. Thanks for coming by.
The Kincaids live here. Across the street, the Padillas. Ben and his family live here too. Ben's a RE/MAX agent, and he's a big part of this community. There are lots of reasons why RE/MAX agents average more sales than other agents. Experience, certainly. But maybe it's also because they care about the markets they serve and the neighbors who rely on them. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live.
Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
The Kincaids live here. Across the street, the Padillas. Ben and his family live here too. Ben's a RE/MAX agent, and he's a big part of this community. There are lots of reasons why RE/MAX agents average more sales than other agents. Experience, certainly. But maybe it's also because they care about the markets they serve and the neighbors who rely on them. Nobody sells more real estate than RE/MAX.
All right, good morning. We are back. It's Election Day 2010, the most important election. That's what a lot of people are saying. I happen to think every election is the most important election. And with me today is Governor Terry Branstad and his running mate, Kim Reynolds. They will know about 11 hours from now, I would imagine, whether they'll be seated in the Capitol for the next 4 years as the governor and lieutenant governor, and we appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you. It's a great opportunity.
Thanks for taking the time for both of you. And Kim, thanks for coming back. We appreciate it.
You bet. It's great to be here.
You were here once before. You're still smiling.
I'm still smiling. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, 99 counties.
99 counties.
Most colleges and universities.
Right. Well, I think I've met my match in terms of energy, work ethic, and enthusiasm in Kim Reynolds, because I started a year ago, And she started in July, and she's already been to all 99 counties.
There you go.
That tells you something about her energy level.
She makes you feel younger, doesn't she?
That's right.
Yeah. I have a dog that's 11, and I got a new puppy about a year ago, and it's amazing how the old dog is just walking around. Now, I'm not calling you an old dog.
No.
That's all right.
But you look great.
Thank you.
You must have been exercising or eating less McDonald's or something.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I do more Subways than
I
anywhere
bet.
else. I have lost 15 pounds in this campaign, so it's been really good for me. I try to get up and walk in the morning, and also I've given up desserts, and so I'm trying to do the right thing, and it's really paid off.
Yeah, if you just do the next right thing, the dessert looks good, but you do the next right thing, and then that works out good. Well, you look great. You really do.
Thank you.
Really
I'm feeling good, and we're having fun, and it's, I've had a lot of people say thanks for coming back and doing this.
Yeah.
Because the state of Iowa has got highest unemployment we've had in 24 years, and I think people are really looking to restore fiscal stability and focus on jobs.
Yeah, I was just thinking that this morning. How my job would be different today if you hadn't gotten into the race. Because my opinion, not yours, I don't think we'd be looking at a new governor. I think we'd be looking at the same governor again. So in many ways, your sacrifice and your family's sacrifice is going to turn this thing around for us.
Well, I'm pretty optimistic about it, but you can't take anything for granted.
I
So
know.
we want to make sure everybody gets out there to vote today. That's critically important. But the last time an incumbent governor lost in Iowa was in 1962. So that's a long time ago. But I think this year a lot of people are not satisfied with the direction things are going. They're looking to restore open, honest, clean, transparent government. They want a governor that listens to them. And I went to every county every year I was governor. I intend to do that again. And I will conduct budget hearings and do some of the basic things that I think governors should do that have not been done in recent years.
Well, I think one of the amazing things about your campaign and wanting to be governor again is there's no upside for you. There's only upside for Iowa. I mean, you've been there.
But I love this state,
I know you do, but you had an amazing job, so it wasn't about the paycheck. I don't know this, and I'm not really asking this, but I wouldn't imagine Chris was your biggest cheerleader when you first said, I'm thinking about running again.
Well, I'll be very honest and tell you, her initial reaction is, are you crazy?
Yes, I would imagine it was.
Because I had a job that I loved at Des Moines University, and we had great success there. We increased the enrollment from 1,200 to 1,800. We increased the endowment from 55 million to 80 million. We got the Wellness Council of America's Platinum Level Award for what we did for wellness for faculty, staff, and students. We do health risk assessments, and we built the new Student Education Center and started the Global Health Initiative. And so enjoyed what I was doing. But I love Iowa, and I'm just watching them. Well, I saw the thing that happened with the film office fiasco and the budget situation. Biggest across the board cut in history and property tax increases, and I just said, I know I can do better. And a lot of people come to me and say, we need your experience and leadership at this critical time in our state's history. I answered the call, and I'm happy to do it. I'm excited about it. I love the state, and I guess I like a challenge, and I know I'm going to face a big challenge.
Well, but I think you're up for it, and your experience says you're up for it. And you not only did it in private sector with the college, but you did it for 16 years?
16 years as governor.
As the governor. You don't seem that old. No, but I'm serious,
No,
though.
thank you. Well, I think I've got a lot of energy, and I guess I enjoy it, I guess. I'm a people person, so I like what I'm doing. I think I've met my match with Kim Reynolds. I mean, she has got the work ethic and the energy and enthusiasm I think you need to have to do that job. And so we're going to really be partners. We're really going to be a team. And her experience in local government is going to help us do a better job of coordinating and collaborating with local governments in the delivery of services, because a lot of what the state mandates has to be delivered at the local level. And we need to have a better relationship there. And I just know the respect that Kim Reynolds has among the county treasurers around the state. When we've traveled around the state, I just can't believe the way they come out to see her. I mean, both Democrats and Republicans, because they know of her leadership and her knowledge and experience of what they're doing at the local level. And I think that's going to be a great asset to us as well.
Kim, what about this guy rubbed off on you?
Well, we have a lot of the same core values and work ethic.
Right,
and I love people too. It's been a great opportunity to tour the state, to be out in every county, meeting with Iowans, talking to them. And the thing that just has been overwhelming, I mean, I knew it because I worked with him before, but at every community, I think at every stop, I have at least 1 or 2 people come up to me and share a memory and experience, some impact that Governor Branstad has either had on them or their community. And I don't think there's any better endorsement of an Iowan that loves Iowa and believes in it and knows Iowa and the people in it that I've experienced as I've traveled the state. So they're ready for him to come back. They want an end to the uncertainty. They know and acknowledge he has the experience and the leadership, and they know that we need to turn things around right away, and that he's the guy that can step in there with the background and the experience, hit the ground running, and I'm just can't wait to be a part of that.
Yeah, and with only the state to benefit.
With only the state to benefit.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
Iowans, they deserve better.
Yeah.
They deserve
We're
better.
both farm kids, you know. That's part of the thing.
Yeah.
You grow up on a farm, you got a lot of responsibility at an early age, and I think that really helps develop you to recognize. And then the other thing, I guess, both of us benefited from parents that really taught us the importance of giving back and helping other people, and so public service is kind of a calling. And it's something that I think we both really take very seriously, and we're looking forward to the honor of serving. We really look at it as an honor and a responsibility to serve the people, and this is the challenging time, but I love this state, and I know the people of Iowa, and I know with the right leadership, you know, we can see a very bright, prosperous and growing future in the state.
I've always said the speed of the leader determines the rate of the pack. And right now, our pack's running a little sluggish, a little slow, and you got a lot of great ideas.
We're stuck in neutral, is what I would say, and we need to get out of neutral. I have 1-speed overdrive, so.
and she put that into steroids, right?
Yeah. I tell people I don't do idle very well, so you know, it's a good match.
You met thousands of people, and just like you just said, Kim, what's one of the first things I did? I shared a memory that Terry and I had from 30 years ago. Share with me a couple of the memories you had on the trail, people you ran into, things people said.
Well, there's a lot of different things that happened out there. I guess I've run into people that have moved back to Iowa, that used to live here and then moved away and came back, and that was kind of an exciting thing, and that happened in a lot of different places around the state. And I guess one of the things that I appreciated was when people come up to me and remind me that something that happened to their family, and they had written a letter or contacted my office, and we'd gone to work to help them. Farm crisis of the 1980s. There's a lot of people that have said, you know, we really appreciate what you did to help us get financing to get the crop in the ground, help us save our farm and things like that. Those are the things that are really meaningful to me.
How about you? Any memories, any people, any moments?
Well, to talk about Governor Branstad, I can talk about a couple. I know what I hear most often is they're so complimentary of the fact that he puts the best, most qualified people in charge of these departments. A lot of times they've worked with the various agencies, and really leadership starts at the top. And it wasn't just a cronyism or just a payback. It was really the most qualified people to lead those departments, so they always comment on that. And
and look at the people who were in his administration and how they've gone on for several decades to serve Iowa after that.
Yeah.
Well, I talked to Susan Neely this morning. Now, she was my first press secretary, and she now runs the American Beverage Association.
Yeah.
And she was, I think, 26 years old when I hired her to be the press secretary.
Talk about wet behind the ears.
Well, actually, she was 25, and then I think she was 29 when she managed my campaign in '86, the depth of the farm crisis. But just a lot of energy, and you know, I see a lot of characteristics in Kim similar to Susan Neely. High energy, a very even keel, has a great rapport with people, and those are very important characteristics.
Absolutely.
I know one other thing too is the fact that he'll pick up the phone and call them, or he'll give them his cell phone number and they'll call him. I just think that's amazing, and I've seen it, even witnessed it as we've been traveling around the state. We didn't get a chance to campaign together very much because we were kind of divide and conquer, but the last week I've had, and at various times had the opportunity, but they feel comfortable walking up to him and just saying, Governor, you know, hi, thanks for running, or they'll share a story with him too, or they'll call, or he'll get something and return the call back to them.
Well, you're both of the people.
Right. Well, one of the things I have made calls and gotten the wrong number and still talked to them for a long time.
Well, this is Governor Branstad. Well, how many times have you been handed the cell phone from your campaign manager and it's the governor saying, I can't believe you just said that. I just got a tweet. You can't say that.
Oh, not too often.
I got a couple questions on the chat. I have a live chat that goes on here. Any thoughts, not asking what it is, but do you have any thoughts on the judge's retention?
Well, you know, I'm running for governor, and so I've said that people should vote their own conviction on this. Okay. So I just respect the will of the people on this. It's on the ballot, and it's for people to decide whether they think each of the individual judges deserve to be retained or not.
And the system of being able to let us, the people, decide whether those judges should be retained, you're in favor of?
Yes, I think it's important that people have that right. It's not, you know, it's not a lifetime appointment. It is the will of the people to decide whether they should be retained or not. So this is, and people have asked me about this in the primary and in the general election, and I've said, you know, I'm focusing on jobs and what we need to do for the state as governor, and I respect the fact that the judicial branch is a separate branch of government, but the ultimate authority, this is a government of, for, and by the people. The ultimate say is really with the people in terms of electing governors, legislatures, and also on the retention of judges.
Yeah. What about the Constitutional Convention?
And again, that's another ballot issue. I have not tried to tell people how to vote on that, but we have not had a Constitutional Convention in a long time. And if there is a Constitutional Convention, any proposals to amend it would have to be individually voted on by the people.
Well, why wouldn't, talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. I'm always not the smartest guy in the room. Why wouldn't we want a constitutional convention?
I think the reason why people would be fearful of a constitutional convention, they think, well, it opens the whole Constitution up. You could see some pretty major radical changes take place. The check against that is whatever the convention would propose would have to be individually voted on by the people, including the situation with judges back in 1962. Now, this was not done by convention, but was done by the legislature putting the constitutional amendment to change it from electing the judges to having them appointed through a judicial nominating process and appointed by the governor. And then they stand for retention. That's the system that we have today. A lot of people are concerned, however, about the nomination process for judges because that has become dominated by one party.
Yes.
Of the 14 people, you have 12 Democrats and only 1 Republican. That should be more balanced.
And who appoints that committee? How does that come
Well,
about?
it's a combination. Half of them are elected by the bar, by the lawyers, and the other half are appointed by the governor. But Governor Culver has appointed all Democrats, and most of the ones chosen by the bar have been Democrats. So you now have it very unbalanced, 12 and 1.
Yeah.
And one that hasn't designated a party.
Now, I saw something or read something the other day that one of the fears some people have is that should you two win, that Governor Culver, before he leaves office, will have time to appoint those judges into positions where people voted him out, and he'll basically appoint the same kind of people.
Well, I think that would be a terrible mistake. I think if the people of Iowa make a decision that they don't want to retain the judges, then I think there needs to be a change in the system.
Yeah.
And I think it would just be a mistake to try to say, we don't care about the will of the people. We're just going to go and do something against the will of the people. I just think, you know, we all serve at the consent of the governed. And I think we need to recognize we are public servants, not the masters of the people. And so I think it'd be important to step back and say, oh, wait a minute, we can't try to cram our will down the throats of the people when the people have spoken on an issue like that. So I think that would be important for people to just step back a little bit and think about that, and I think that would be a mistake.
But isn't that kind of one of the fundamental differences of our two parties, though? Don't we have another party called the Democrats who really believe that the power is power, where you guys have clearly said, and I know I feel as a lifelong Republican, it's about serving, not about obtaining power.
No, that's right. And obviously, I think that's what we're seeing right now in this country. I think you're going to see in the election results today a lot of Americans saying, wait a minute, we voted for Obama and we were expecting change.
Right.
But we weren't expecting
this
kind of change.
Wow.
We weren't expecting to see this massive explosion in the size and cost of government takeover, and bailouts and all that sort of stuff. And I see there's a strong negative reaction to this power grab on the part of the government.
Yeah.
And people want to say, no, we want our country back. We want to make sure that the ultimate power rests with the people, and we want people elected to office that recognize they are servants of the people, not the masters of the people.
On the national level, you know, I think the Republicans need 36 or 39 seats in the Senate. They need
39
10
in the House.
In the
39
House.
in the House and 10 in the Senate.
Okay, if we get those, does that give the Democrats the ability to come back to us in 365, 500 days and say, well, we gave you the power, you screwed up, you can't do it any better?
Well, then you'll have a shared power. If right now you've got a Democratic president who's elected for 4 years, if Republicans were to gain control of the Congress, then President Obama would have to deal with a Republican Congress. I don't know what's going to happen for sure, but a lot of people feel the Republicans will probably gain control of the House. The Senate's much more difficult because you only have 37 Senate seats up and they have to pick up 10.
Yeah.
That's a big hill to climb, although there's going to be quite a few new, I think, Republican senators across the country. And so I think it sure could change things dramatically. And it really depends upon how the president reacts to the new reality and whether he reaches out and tries to indeed cooperate as opposed to just trying to cram his agenda through.
We haven't seen much cooperation.
No, we haven't. I think people are especially upset about the way the health care bill was passed.
Yeah.
With the objections of a majority of people in this country, and it was just crammed through regardless.
Yeah.
Even after the Senate seat in Massachusetts went Republican, they said, we don't care, we're going to do it anyway. And you know what the vote was in Missouri? They put it on the ballot to say, you want to opt in or opt out? 71% of the people in Missouri said, we don't want to opt out. We don't want it. And I think people object to that. Something that big a part of the American economy, I think if you're going to address it, and there are areas that need to be addressed, it should be done on a piecemeal basis in areas where you have consensus, like dealing with conditions such as pre-existing conditions.
Absolutely.
I think those things could be addressed without this huge, massive takeover, and people are real concerned there weren't the cost containment features. Consequently, we're seeing health insurance costs for most people going up dramatically and people losing their health insurance. So it's gone the opposite direction that I think a lot of people hope that it would.
Kim, let me ask you this. 4 years from now, you will have hopefully been lieutenant governor for a while with Governor Branstad. My grandson, who's 12, will then be 16. And then 4 years after that, he'll be looking for a job. What kind of jobs do you see for Iowans in 4 to 8 years with you guys' economic development plan? Because you have a great economic development plan.
Well, I think, early on the governor set very ambitious goals, 200,000 new jobs to the state of Iowa over the next 5 years. And I think it starts by creating an environment like we've talked about and laid out that's going to actually put in place what we need to do to bring higher paying jobs to the state of Iowa. One of the things that people and business owners have said to me as I've traveled across the state is they want confidence restored back in them. They have no confidence not only in the state at the state level, but the federal level, with the tax environment, with the unreasonable regulation, with the health care. They're setting on capital right now. So we actually have businesses that are positioned to expand and grow, and especially with entrepreneurships, one of the policies that we've laid out really creates an environment, because that's where you'll see the net gain in job growth and some of the higher paying jobs. So I think the opportunity's there. We just need to put the policies in place, restore the confidence, get the fiscal house in order at the state level, and just get away from the mindset that it's not government that creates jobs, it's the private sector that creates jobs. So if we can just unleash the free market, then the capitalism, it will grow and jobs will come to Iowa.
I've got people on the chat who are wanting me to ask you the tough questions.
Okay.
What are the tough questions? I mean, aren't they jobs? Aren't they economic
Jobs,
development?
I think, is the number one.
Budget?
Yeah, the budget. Getting the state's financial house in order, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Our present governor has not personally conducted budget hearings to know the details of the budget. I did that before, and I will do that again, because we've got to recognize government can't do everything. We need to set priorities. We need to eliminate some things that aren't so important so that we have the resources for education and for the priority areas, public safety. Those are areas that we want to prioritize. And then I think it's also critically important that you have a governor that's accessible to people, that has regular press conferences.
Yeah.
And that hasn't always been done. I think it's critically important that you answer those kind of questions, and I intend to do that. When I was governor before, I had a press conference every week, and that way people knew where I stood. I also enjoy doing call-in shows where the public can ask a question directly. They don't have to have it feeded through somebody in the media. They
Feel free to be here every Tuesday, and we'll do the call-in show. You're right. You are accessible.
Yeah.
People say that during the campaign that questions about the budget were brought up, that this was balanced, it wasn't balanced. I even saw an ad at one point that talked about different sets of books and stuff.
Right.
Clear that up for us once and for all.
Well, we inherited a situation where the state budget was balanced based on the state's rules, but they didn't conform to what's called generally accepted accounting principles for public entities. That's CPAs understand that. David Vout is our state auditor.
Great guy.
And let me tell you, back when we had that problem in the 90s, I brought the legislature back twice to special sessions to reform the budgeting process and get our budget balanced once and for all on generally accepted accounting principles, and put in place a 99% spending limit. And we passed that in 92. We got a Republican control of the House in 92 election, and from then on, we had the budget balanced on generally accepted accounting principles, and I enforced the 99% spending limit. I'll tell you what's happened in recent years. They have found a way to circumvent the spending limit, and they put in appropriation bills notwithstanding language and notwithstanding the law, and they spend more than's taken in. For the last 4 years, each year, they've spent more in spending than a state has had in ongoing revenue. And people ask, well, how could they do that? Well, remember the tobacco settlement we're supposed to get over 25 years?
Yep.
Well, they wanted to get their hands on that money early, so what they did is they sold bonds, securitized that debt, they got that money, they said, don't worry, we're going to put it in a trust account. Well, here we are 12 years later, we're supposed to get it over 25 years, it's all gone, it's all spent. Then they had the Senior Living Trust Fund. They spent all of that. That's now gone. And then they got the big federal bailout, over $500 million, the so-called stimulus money. That's all been spent.
And we never saw that.
No. And so next year we have a $600 million shortfall in the Medicaid program to provide health insurance for low-income people. Now, that's an entitlement program that we have an obligation to fund. And that's why I'm saying we're facing an impending significant budget shortfall, and that's why we have this huge projected deficit. I want to put together a 5-year strategic plan to get the state's finances in order again, and I'm going to work with the state auditor on that. And that's what we did at Des Moines University. We had a strategic plan for the university, and every year we spent less than we took in. And so we've surplused every year.
What a unique concept.
And you know, people do that in their own budgets. In fact, in this recession, Iowans have quit spending as much on credit cards. We have the lowest credit card debt in the country. We need to do that as state government too.
Yeah.
Spend less each year than we take in.
Well, I'm not trying to predict the future or put any hex on it, but I have a feeling I know who's going to be the next governor and lieutenant governor. And congratulations, good luck, and good job on the campaign trail. Thanks for keeping it clean and above the board and friendly. You guys did a great job of that.
Yeah. You know, I said from the very beginning, I wanted this to be a fun campaign. We've had no turnover in our campaign.
Yep.
Everybody's having a good time. They're working hard, but we have a real important cause. We love this state. We want to make a difference. And I guess I'm humbled that people stop me on the street and say, thanks for running. We appreciate you doing this.
Thanks for running.
People recognize it.
Yeah, me too. I'm one of those.
Well, and I'm looking forward to serving. And I know it's going to be a big challenge, but we'll work hard at it every day.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching your lieutenant governor grow and grow and grow. And maybe one of these days we'll be saying, Governor Reynolds.
Well, it's a tremendous opportunity.
I know, but the future's always out there. God bless
Absolutely.
you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for the honor of being on your show this morning.
The honor was all mine. I appreciate you guys being here. And you got a pretty good campaign guy over here in Albrecht.
Listen,
you know, I had him as a talk show host every week until you took him away.
Well, he's fully employed, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he's
and
a great
he
guy.
knows the social media, Twitter, Facebook, all of this stuff, blogs, and he's teaching us a lot.
Yeah, he's a smart guy. You're lucky to have him.
Thank you.
All right, Governor Terry Branstad and Kim Reynolds, the Lieutenant Governor, to be. Is that too early to say? I won't post this show till tomorrow, and then it'll be the truth.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being here. We're going to bid you adieu. Remember one thing, vote. You can't complain if you don't vote. Tomorrow, a whole bunch of complainers will meet here, live, 10 o'clock, at maxworldlive.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios. Listen, watch, chat. This is Webcast One Live.
Programs on webcast1live.com are brought to you in part by KDC Builders, building custom homes for how you live. KDC will take your dreams and turn them into reality. Go to our website, kdcbuilt.com, or call Hannah Inman at 515-975-9990. And Tom Coates and ConsumerCreditOfAmerica.com. Are you overwhelmed with mounted credit card debt and feel there's no way out? Well, there is. Call 1-800-955-5765 for Consumer Credit of America. That's ccofamerica.com.